He had been running for so long that the rhythm of his heartbeat had become the only sound anchoring him to reality. Out here in the wilderness he was nobody, just a fugitive fading into the forest shadows. But a thin, desperate whine cut through the silence, stopping him mid-step. Without thinking, he left the trail and followed the sound. A German shepherd lay ahead, her paw trapped in the iron jaws of a rusted snare. Her amber eyes met his, not with anger, but with raw pain and a strange, unguarded trust. That look pierced through everything he had tried to bury. For a moment, he was no longer a man on the run. He was a doctor again. Sergei stood frozen, listening to the suffocating quiet. Every instinct begged him to flee. Any noise could give him away, but the dog whimpered again, and it hit him like a memory from the night his sister cried for help. It felt as though fate itself was tugging him forward. He pushed through wet fern and knelt beside the large shepherd. Blood and fear hung in the air. The metal teeth of the trap were embedded deep in her paw. "Walk away," he whispered to himself. "She's a burden. She means death." He even stepped back, but her soft whine stopped him cold. For a year he had been running from who he was. Now his past had found him in the shape of a suffering animal. He took a breath, knelt, and spoke hoarsely, "Easy, easy girl." His voice startled him. It was the first time he'd spoken in days. His hands, trained for surgery, moved automatically. Canteen. A scrap of clean cloth. He moistened the fabric and let her drink from it. Her eyes softened. In that quiet moment, surrounded by pine needles and blood, something fragile was born between them. Trust. Then came the hardest part. Freeing her. Sergei cut a sturdy branch to use as a lever. As he positioned it, he noticed a metal tag on her collar. Astra. Initials. A wealthy owner, no doubt someone already searching for her. Fear tightened his chest, but he forced himself to continue. With a sharp crack, the trap snapped open. Her paw was free, but the damage was severe. Bone fragments, swelling, the smell of infection. She wouldn't survive without treatment. Working quickly and precisely, he cleaned the wound, improvised a splint from sticks, and wrapped it tightly. Astra endured everything with only soft whimpers. And when he finished, she pressed her cold nose into his hand. In that instant he heard a distant roar. An engine. Someone was coming. In the district police office, Major Oleg Belov studied Sergei's file. The man was accused of murder, yet nothing aligned. The victim was his drunken brother-in-law who had beaten Sergei's sister for years. Self-defense, Belov thought. So why hadn't the case been reclassified? Pressure from above. Came the quiet answer. Belov sighed. Another twisted life ruined by influence. Meanwhile, Sergei crafted a makeshift sled out of branches and his jacket. Leaving Astra behind meant killing her. Taking her with him meant dragging danger along. But he made his choice. He would not abandon her. Step after agonizing step, he pulled the sled through the forest. He wasn't just dragging a wounded dog, he was carrying his conscience. That night by the fire, he spoke aloud for the first time in months. My sister's name was Anya. He hurt her, and everyone pretended not to see. Astra lay with her head on his knee, listening. Her warm breath was the only thing keeping him from freezing in the icy taiga. He was no longer alone, yet dread pressed on him. Someone was tracking them. The next morning, Astra suddenly tensed and growled toward the trees. Sergei realized they weren't alone. Hunters, sent by Astra's owner, the ruthless timber magnate Karatanov, were closing in. To Karatanov, Astra was a symbol of wealth. Losing her was a personal insult. Find whoever took her. I want him alive. He had ordered his men, Valet and Thin One. Major Belov, relying on instinct, was also following Sergei's trail. Not as a hunter, but as an investigator. Bits of bandage, drops of blood. Not human. And a few dog hairs formed a picture as unsettling as it was puzzling. A fugitive risking everything to save an injured dog. Astra's condition worsened. Fever. Swelling. No antibiotics. She was dying. Sergei stared at the map. The border was close, but he would never reach it while carrying her. Leaving her was logical, but her eyes, full of pain and trust, made that impossible. He abandoned his escape plan. The only chance for Astra was a remote ranger cabin marked on the map. Reaching it meant walking straight toward people, toward danger. His chances of survival dropped to zero, but he didn't hesitate. He took the first step and a branch snapped. A voice followed. Volkov, this is Investigator Belov. Don't do anything foolish. Trapped. Killers on one side, law on the other, and between them, him and a dying dog. Adrenaline cut through the exhaustion. While the poachers and the investigator sized each other up, Sergei seized Astra and bolted. A shotgun blast tore the bark beside his cheek. He ran blindly, clinging to her burning body. A rocky slope loomed ahead. By some miracle, he squeezed them into a crevice between boulders. Astra was barely breathing. He felt her pulse weakening. She was slipping away. Voices surrounded them. There was no escape. Sergei drew his knife, not to fight, but to spare her suffering before the hunters reached them. But Belov, instead of charging ahead, radioed for a helicopter unit. He followed the trail steadily, noticing the drops of blood leading straight to Sergei. Reaching the ranger cabin seemed almost impossible, but Sergei kept moving. When he finally stumbled into a clearing and saw smoke rising from the chimney, hope flickered, only to be crushed by approaching voices. Belov to the right, poachers to the left. No way through. A desperate idea formed. He hid Astra deep in a thicket of raspberry bushes. "Forgive me, live," he whispered. Then he stuffed stones into his backpack, shouted to draw attention, and ran toward the deadly swamps, leading the killers away. The poachers chased him without hesitation. When Belov reached the clearing, something felt wrong. He checked the bushes and found Astra. Everything became clear instantly. In the swamp, Sergei had reached a tiny patch of solid ground. The mire was pulling him in. The poachers caught up, Valet snarling, "Where's the dog?" Sergei gripped his knife, determined to face the end on his feet. The roar of a helicopter split the sky. Panic seized the hunters. The world they ruled had just collapsed. At the ranger cabin, Igor Danilovich, the old forest warden, worked with steady hands to save Astra's life. "She'll make it," he muttered as he finished bandaging her. Belov watched her, thinking of the man who had carried her through the wilderness. Sergei was arrested without resistance. Exhausted, empty, but strangely calm. When they asked him about the dog, he said nothing. Then Karatanov arrived, arrogant, furious, demanding his property. But when he ordered Astra to come to him, the dog, shaky on her legs, walked past him and pressed her nose against Sergei's leg. The message was unmistakable. Belov stepped in coldly. "She's evidence, and you're now part of the case." For once, money met a wall it couldn't break. Belov ordered the handcuffs removed. "The case will be reviewed," he said quietly. For the first time in a year, Sergei felt a glimmer of freedom. The verdict was eventually revised thanks to Belov's persistence. Sergei received a suspended sentence. He was free, but he didn't return to the city or the prestigious career waiting there. He went back to the taiga, to Igor Danilovich and to Astra. She ran to him the moment she saw him, healthy again, with only a faint limp. He dropped to his knees in the snow, and she whined with joy, circling him. He hugged her tightly, burying his face in her thick fur smelling of smoke and home. His odyssey was over. The scars on his soul and the mark from the trap on her paw remained, but now they were badges of survival, not suffering. He had found a home at the edge of the world, a place where he was no longer a fugitive, but a man, and a healer, once more.